p.m. at Square One between Walmart and TD Bank at 1:30 p.m. Then we'll depart from Niagara Falls at 7:45 p.m. Don't miss out. E-transfer your payment to ndcgroupcan@gmail.com to ensure your spot today. For more information, contact Bernadette at 416-347-2199. Zeno at 647-242-9256. Robert at 647-859-4142. Or Louise at 905-865-1027. Book your seat and get ready for a fantastic day at the Falls View Casino with the NBC Canada chapter. Fun, luck, and a great cause await you.
Right, so Bernadette, pick up your whole self there. Folks, I will be putting in circulation very soon a petition that you can sign and attach your phone number to. So you sign and you put your phone number, because having your phone number is critical as we move along. So that will be in circulation sometime soon, calling for our government to cancel the new vehicle that the opposition MPs will be getting, cancel this $5,000 that they actually put on the salaries.
Yeah. Could everybody mute their mics, please? Could everybody just mute their mics?
And also cancel this $10,000 that they are getting as constituency allowance, those opposition MPs.
Herman, can you mute?
Based on what they have done.
Everybody else, guys, you should be muted.
Yes, no, he mute. Buske mute. Because we hearing background information that don't concern this this meeting. Well, let me see if I could join Buske.
Afternoon.
Okay,
Everybody fighting, don't know who will die. Tuesday, March 1979. Every West Indian there in mind.
Yeah, okay, I'm on your background. Right, but I think you have two instruments on here. Do you have two instruments on? For one? Okay.
How's that?
Justice, equality, equal opportunity.
We just add God. Oh, you can mute people, Jovel?
Soldiers of justice are ready to fight. For smooth and efficiency all through the night. And thousands of hopes sleeping deep.
Hi, Joseph. Could you mute your mic, please, Joseph?
Freedom fighters render their blood to be shed. The grace of the masses, the cry of the poor, the guns of the dumb press, the solve victory too. Prophecy fulfilled when a dull leaders fall. Once more did that victories of all. The people calling, old people say, young people say, I and I say, Pastor man say, NJM say, ERA say, for justice, equality, equal opportunity, evermore brilliant say.
Hi, Bernard, do you have on your background screen? Joseph and Twine, could you mute your mic, please?
Yeah, Rogers, I save it, but I'm looking to try to pull it on my phone.
Sorry?
I have it saved, but I'm trying to find it to put it on my screen. On my background.
Okay.
Sorry for my tardiness, man.
Call it old people say, young people say, I and I say, the Rastaman say, the PRA say, the NJM say, the Motivate say, for justice, equality, equal opportunity, forever more say.
Watch out, Nevis, St. Kitts and Aquila, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and Dominica. Another pillar crumble, down comes the prison wall. Another leader tumble, and another tyrant will fall. Coming up, a brand new revolution. Coming through the West Indies. Coming up, a brand new revolution. Colonialism dying by degrees. MC communism putting on the squeeze. Them people shouting socialism if you please. Them people shouting socialism if you please. In this music, there's a message. Disadvantage shall soon be salvaged. Listen to the new sound, spreading all around. What was lost is now found. The oppressor shall be found. Coming out, a brand new revolution. Coming through the West Indies. Coming out, a brand new revolution. Racialism dying by degrees. MC communism putting on the squeeze. Them people shouting socialism if you please. Them people shouting socialism if you please.
call it. Old people say, young people say, I and I say, Rastaman say, NJM say, ERA say, we say, for justice, equality, equal opportunity, evermore we them say. Liberation, liberation at last. Long live the struggles of the working class. With patriotism and dedication, we rise every day to meet the morning sun. Forward ever, backward never is a crime. We can be free now, then we don't paradise. This struggle is long, hard and we'll feel the pain, but we live and will win. The people call it, old people say, young people say, I and I say, the Rastaman say, the PRA say, the NJM say, the movie say. For justice, equality, equal opportunity, forevermore we them say.
March 13 of 79, a most historic freedom time. The people of Grenada rose with dignity, rose up from oppression, rose up from iniquity and shame, from the darkness of desecration, shaking up paralysis of corruption, tyranny, violence and subjugation, to shine down before the Caribbean and strike terror into repressive regime and scrupulous politicians, and now trembling in their pants. Stand up, Grenada, stand up against Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them who oppose your revolution are political bandits just like you in their own island. Fight for your rights, protect what you have. You fought a good fight. Protect what you have. Don't give in a single inch. Don't retreat, not even a pinch. Don't compromise your revolution. For those scandalous teaching oppressive political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never rise. No way. Some talk of legality, constitutionality, but only to expose the hypocrisy. But if you examine the state of affairs in their land, you will find human rights violations, total disregard for the Constitution, countless political persecution, and a wave of sanctioned violence with the blessing of legislative criminals enforced by sadistic gangs. Just like the mongoose one, stand up, Grenada, stand up again, Grenadian. Don't let nobody come in and dictate your course of action. All of them who oppose your revolution and political bandits just like they're in their own island. Fight for your rights, protect what you have. You fought a good fight now. Protect what you with oppressive political scams in the Caribbean. No way, never rise, no way. God bless you, Grenada.
Don't leave Grenada, revolution.
Praises unto the Most High.
Don't give up your Oh yeah, oh yeah. Natty can come and tell you I say. Oh yeah. A long, long time never seen Natty dread so happy. A long, long time never seen Natty dread so gay. Babylon fall, Natty dreadlocks are free of our country. One a man done Natty dread in a PRA. Natty flying high, so high. Natty flying high, jumping up for joy, Natty high, high, high. Natty dreadlocks jump up and say, the Rastafari, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I tell you it's a long, long time never seen Natty dread so happy. No way, and it's a long, long time never seen Natty dreadlocks so gay. We tell you the Babylon fall, Natty dreadlocks are free of our country. One a man done Natty dread in a PRA. Babylon a burn, Babylon a burn. Fire me, I say in my road. The body man a run, but the nana gets away. No way, dreadlocks say. Long time never seen Natty dread so happy. No way. A long, long time never seen Natty so gay. Why? Because I said the OBM man used to press Natty down in a country. Yeah. But Natty up with the gun and the dread in a PRA. So children are rejoice, rejoice. Children are rejoice. See the light that comes, rejoice, rejoice. Rastaman rejoice at the hour of your freedom. German say freedom, oh yeah, Rastaman.
South Africa, you're pushing my back against the wall. I'm calling the tribes of Hannibal. I man decide to put on his boots and march to defend his roots. Say, calling them Juju, calling them Zulu, shouting and Shanti, calling what to see in South Africa and Rhodesia. Let go run like water. Prepare my brother for the bloody river. Just remember, brother, bloody card and water. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Stay up, Zimbabwe. Stay up, Zimbabwe. won't be so easy, but you got to get rid of the enemy. If you don't get rid of the enemy shall get rid of thee. My people, you see, we have no choice, so Africans, hear my voice. Say, calling them Zulu, calling them Juju, shouting Ashanti, calling Watusi, in South Africa and Rhodesia, blood go run like water. Prepare my brother for the bloody river. Just remember, brother, blood thicker than water. Stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe, stay up Zimbabwe. Talk that America supporting white South Africa, but if we have to walk voodoo, my people shout in your room. Some the drums and summon the witch doctors to deal with those weird characters. Hey, calling them Zulu, calling them Juju, shouting Ashanti, calling Watusi in South Africa and Rhodesia.
Good evening, brothers, sisters, comrades, all. On behalf of the Grenada Revolution Memorial Foundation and the March 13th Committee, this annual March 13th lecture is called to order. And we will start with the national anthem played by our facilitator and host, John Caliste. While we wait for John, let me just add that followed by the Grenada National Anthem will be the anthem of the Grenada Revolution.
Of Grenadians of all their nations, end of misery and oppression. So we fill Grenada full with our song. Forward march, forward march, forward march against imperialism. Forward colonialism, forward march. We will fight imperialism, forward march. Now Grenadians of proclamation, end of misery and oppression. So we fill Grenada full with our song. Forward march, forward march, forward march against imperialism. Forward march, forward march, forward march against imperialism. We the workers fight for justice, forward march. In this struggle we are united, forward march. For now there'll be a cultivation. We'll end corruption and oppression, and we'll build Grenada with these very hands. Forward march, forward march, forward march against imperialism. Forward march, forward march, forward march against imperialism. Forward!
If we take time and I write down all the things that I love on my island, best believe my list gon' be like 5 miles long. Best believe it's love that makes me sing this song. The cleanest breeze on the waters, friendly people meet in every corner. Togetherness and love is what we stand for. We stand for. We stand for.
Oh, island in the sun. Look at how we've grown, how far we've run. 50 years we strong and more to come. More to come. More to come. We're going higher. 50 years we're blessed with forged in fire. Still reaching for more. Going up, going up, 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 up. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up.
We're going higher, going higher, as we aspire, build and fantasize, put people together.
Bang, bang, bang.
It's only up from
It take time to reminisce on the richness of our history from the beginning. From the people who came through sugar and change, emancipation, the revolution. More than the speck up on the globe, more than the ice cream and gold, much more than the nutmeg and the globe. Tell the world we are Grenadians. Oh.
3 islands united as one, blessed with the strength to carry on. We're more than just that island in the sun. Tell the world we are Grenadians.
Going higher, 50 years we blessed with force and fire. Oh, you mean? We going up, going up, going up, 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 going up, going up, going up, 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 up. We inspire, build advances, want people together. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up. Going up, going up, going up, 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 up.
Really and truly, can't find the words to describe what my country means to me. So much things we take for granted, but so much things they give to me.
Peace and tranquility, family, community. No matter where we go in the world, just know that home is where my heart is.
50 years, as we strive for 50 more, as we strive to reach the goal, like you only bring the goal.
Going up, I could see the vision clear. Sing it out and let the people hear.
Look at how we've gone and how far we've come.
50 years we strong and more to come, more to come, more to come. So we are from here.
Higher,
Pity Matnik.
Well, thank you very much, John, for lifting the energy of this evening's event. This, the 46th anniversary of our glorious March 13th revolution that we all celebrate. Thanks again. I am your moderator for today. My name is Valerie Gordon. And I'll go right in, because we have a packed agenda, I'll go right into inviting Mr. Comrade Ruggles Ferguson to welcome you to this event. Ruggles?
Yes, good evening, and thank you, Val, and good evening all. A special welcome to Ambassador, a special guest this evening, Ambassador Solier, Ambassador of the Palestinian Authority for the Caribbean, and also a veteran journalist of 48 years, Comrade Earl Bousquet, joining us this evening, and of course the other panelists, Bernard Bone. A special welcome to all of you, and my task is very short and simple: to welcome you on behalf of the Grenada Revolution Memorial Foundation and the March 13th Committee on this 46th anniversary of the revolution. There are a number of activities planned for this month that you'll hear more of, but this, of course, is the premier and principal activity. This lecture series was launched March 13th lecture several years ago with our several distinguished presenters over the past few years, including Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, who delivered the inaugural lecture back in 2016. And we have had since then Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves, former Prime Minister Kenny Anthony. We have had Director General of the OECS last year, Didicus Jules. And we have had several discussion formatted events apart from straight lectures involving economists, health experts, agricultural experts over the years. We have also had the former president of Guyana, Donald Ramota, in 2022 as part of this lecture series. And we have no less a distinguished person this year in Earl Bousquet. GEMFM aims to educate, inform, sensitize, create debate about the Grenada Revolution. Most times you hear the negative aspects of the Grenada Revolution, more how it ended, but not of the excellent programs of that period, of the great projects like the International Airport, the programs like the Center for Popular Education, the House Repair Program, all designed to benefit the mass of people out there. We have also had, despite all the talk about the revolution and the negativity, but what among the early acts of the revolution was the Trade Union Recognition Act, recognizing trade unions in the country. As we know, many employers have challenges with trade unions, and people who attempted to join trade unions were dismissed from their workplaces. We had the Trade Union Recognition Act. We had the Maternity Leave Act that transformed the lives of women, that introduced during that period compulsory pay for those women who were on maternity leave, but not just compulsory pay, but the guarantee of their jobs back at the end of the maternity leave. In that period also, we had equal pay for equal work. And so these are just snippets of the positives of that period. And there were so many organs, notwithstanding the fact that the revolution has been criticized for not holding elections. For example, I think the PRG was clear at the time to introduce constitutional reform and to create popular organs of democracy that were instituted very early through zonal and parish councils. And we had all the mass organizations, the women's organizations, the youth organization, the pioneers organization, all organs of people's participatory democracy. However, we know that the period ended in a very tragic way. And it is important, though, that we learn the lessons of that period, the lessons of unity, the lessons of organization, the importance of mobilization, the importance of taking care of our people. So let me just say that Grenfell will continue on its positive trend. We are all busy people with busy programs, and the idea is to involve as many people as possible in the more permanent aspects of, for example, the setting up of a museum of the revolution that we have been speaking about for so long. And there have been steps. It's moving slower than we expected, but that is still very much in the pipeline. So let me welcome you and our special guest, and we look forward to a memorable celebration of the 46th anniversary. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Ruggles, for setting that warm tone for this afternoon's event, that afternoon's lecture. Comrades all, I have the distinct honor and pleasure to introduce a long-standing, long-serving comrade of the revolution from a sister island of St. Lucia. Earl Bousquet was born in St. Lucia and was only 23 when he landed at Pearls Airport in Grenada on March 13, 1980, exactly 45 years ago today. Like many others, he came at the invitation of Prime Minister Maurice Bishop, the People's Revolutionary Government, and the New Jewel Movement to offer internationalist solidarity with the then one-year-old revolution. Earl remained in Grenada until January 10, 1983, serving as a reporter at the Free West Indian newspaper and news editor at Radio Free Grenada, RFG. Our presenter today has clocked in 48 untiring years as a news reporter, journalist, and editor, serving in Grenada and Guyana, covering Latin America and the world from the Caribbean and the world from St. Lucia. He was a founding member of the St. Lucia Media Workers Association, the Media Workers Association of Free Grenada, and the Caribbean Association of Media Workers. Over decades, Comrade Bousquet attended regional and international conferences of the International Organization of Journalists, the Latin American Federation of Journalists, and the Cuban Union of Journalists. He was a Caribbean correspondent for the Cuba's Prensa Latina News Agency in the 1970s and 80s, also contributing to Radio Havana's direct transmissions to Haiti in the Creole language. Comrade Bousquet returned home briefly in 1998 as part of the Guyana delegation led by President Janet Jagan to the CARICOM summit attended by South African President Nelson Mandela. In 2016, our presenter was honored with the St. Lucia Medal of Honor, Gold, for his then 40-year contribution to journalism and media training in St. Lucia and the Caribbean. The journalist in Earl today hosts a decade-old 2-hour weekly Sunday TV program called Earl at Large. Earl also pens a regional opinion column in the Voice of St. Lucia entitled Chronicles of the Chronic Caribbean Chronicler, also published in Cuba. Brother Bousquet is chair of the St. Lucia's National Reparations Committee and the island's commissioner on the CARICOM Reparations Commission. He was General Secretary of St. Lucia's Workers' Revolutionary Movement, which enjoyed fraternal relations with the NJM. He is president of the St. Lucia China Friendship Association since 2004 and was elected in November 2024 as vice president of the Latin American and Caribbean Federation of China Friendship Associations. I have the distinct honor and pleasure of welcoming Comrade Earl Bousquet to present today's annual lecture. Earl, you have to
Sorry,
unmute
Earl, you're
yourself.
muted, eh?
You have to
You
unmute
have to
yourself,
unmute.
Earl.
He's muted.
Yes, Earl, you have to unmute, eh?
Got it. I got it. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Loud and
Okay.
clear.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that, but I'm not the best at IT as many others. But I was saying earlier that I joined the organizers for a dry run to iron out the IT threads connected to online multinational and multi-dimensional discussions like this, and listening to the way in which we can package our presentations and cut and fit to suit a specific timeline. I did last night what I usually do in these circumstances. I asked myself, what would the world have been today if V.I. Lenin and Marcus Garvey had access to email and social media? I still ask myself, but I guess we'll never finish wondering and pondering what the answer could have been. That note aside, I thank organizers for inviting me to follow in the oversized footprints of previous presenters. And in all my humility, I promise this will not be an academic or literary exercise involving facts and figures with dates and maps and graphs and scales. Instead, I propose to be a storyteller, taking us down memory lane and across the bridges of time, patching up forgotten pieces to try to show that solidarity has changed from what it used to be and what it is today. Of course, we all know that solidarity is free yet always costly and never priceless. But then it depends on what yardstick is used. And here I only ask that you measure me today by what I say, and forgive me if I didn't say what you expected to hear. So, with that said, here's my story about the Grenada Revolution and international solidarity, linking the past and the present, as was invited to do. I will only add that what I will say is also reflected on what I expect of and for the future. So here goes. We start with part one, where I want to look at from whence we cometh, where we came from. And of course, we know that the revolution was preceded by paths that built and laid, they were built and laid by the West Indian and Caribbean regional progressive movement during the colonial and post-colonial era, including the following: the 1938 revolution and its effect on creation of trade unions that created political parties and won the right to vote in 1950 and 51. The formation of the West Indies Labour Party that came with leaders across the region like Grenadian T.A. Marichaud, founder of the West Indian newspaper. The advances secured back then with independence in Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago during the 1960s. Also, the 1967 revolution in Nevis, which I must say has not been sufficiently studied and recognized for its contribution to showing that the CARICOM didn't just arrive, but that it emerged from what used to be the West Indies. Also, the 1970 Black Power Revolution in Trinidad and Tobago, and in 1972, the significant joint recognition of Cuba by Barbados, Guyana, Jamaica, and Trinidad and Tobago, which move broke the U.S. diplomatic isolation of Cuba since 1961. Then came 1973, the creation of the Caribbean Free Trade Area, independence in Grenada in 1974 for this discussion. 1975 saw independence in Suriname. 1976, we witnessed the coordinated terrorist attack on the Cubana airline in Barbados that took the lives of 63 persons, and that was followed in 1978 by the Jonestown massacre in Guyana, and all of that preceded the March 13th, 1979 revolution in Grenada, which followed revolutions in Iran. The Caribbean anti, and of course later in 1979, we had the revolution in Nicaragua. But the Caribbean anti-imperialist and progressive movement pre-1979, the movement that is in our region, included, among others, the People's Progressive Party and the People's National Congress in Guyana, the People's National Party and the Workers' Liberation League and the Workers' Party of Jamaica and others, the progressives in Suriname, in the former Dutch Antilles, the former and present Dutch Antilles, Aruba, Bonaire, Curacao, and the three S's. Also, the communist parties in Cuba, Martinique, and Guadeloupe, the Antigua Caribbean, previously called the Afro-Caribbean Liberation Movement, the ACLM, the Movement for National Liberation, MONALI, in Barbados, and later the Workers' Party of Barbados, the Dominica Liberation Movement, DLM, and progressive forces in the Dominica Labour Party, led by Rosie Douglas and his brother Michael, the latter serving as a prime minister of Dominica. The Workers' Revolutionary Movement existed in St. Lucia, and alongside the other progressive forces in the St. Lucia Labour Party. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we had the Yulu Liberation Movement, ULIMO, and in other CARICOM territories, we had progressive parties, movements, and trade unions, progressive forces at the University of the West Indies campuses, Mona, St. Augustine, and Cave Hill, progressive national youth and student councils, progressive regional and international institutions, including the Caribbean Conference of Churches, the CCC, the World Conference of Churches, the World Peace Council, the World Federation for Trade Unions, and the International Youth and Student Movements. There were also the progressive international states and bodies, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics and the rest of the socialist community, and the member states of the non-aligned movement. We also had the African Liberation Movement, ANC of South Africa, Frelimo in Mozambique, SWAPO in Namibia, and of course the Pan-African Congress. We move now to an important activity that took place in 1978, a year before the revolution, and I speak here of the 11th World Festival of Youth and Students, which took place in Havana between July 26 and August 5th in 1978. Like I said, preceding the Grenada Revolution and serving as a prime gathering of international progressive youth and student movements in the Caribbean. The first of its kind, it exposed the regional movements to each other, and many Caribbean progressive entities met together in the same place for the very first time in revolutionary Cuba at that international event. Now, this single activity would go on to influence the future of most of the Caribbean's youth and students who returned home with the effervescence of revolutionary fervor. It was a major platform that included delegations from almost all Caribbean nations and territories, English, French, Dutch, and Spanish, meeting and sharing with youth from the international socialist community and the progressive international movement. In fact, the festival offered the first real glimpse of Cuba, revolutionary Cuba, by Caribbean revolutionaries and was attended by many who later opened the ways for scholarships to Cuba, the thousands that have been benefited from by several territories. In fact, several of the delegates to that festival have since, and some still serve in political parties and governments as elected parliamentarians and members of cabinet in the post-revolution era from 1983 to now. The festival also extended friendship and solidarity between the Caribbean and the liberation movements in Africa, and for the purposes of today and the presence of our special guests, our solidarity with Palestine. In fact, delegates from Grenada and the Caribbean's progressive movement actually met and exchanged with Secretary General of the African National Congress of South Africa, Oliver Tambo, at that conference, at that festival. And the Caribbean delegates also met with the chairman of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, PLO, the legendary Yasser Arafat himself. And those sessions, like I said, were held at the Cuban Academy of Science, called in Cuba the Capitolio because it's shaped like the Capitol in the United States. And that was during the first and only international youth and student gathering held in the Caribbean of its kind, like I said, hosted in and by Cuba. And in that respect, it must be noted that the festival was preceded by establishment of national preparatory committees that allowed for gatherings of youth and students with progressive ideas across the region who took the sense of solidarity from the posters and calendars associated with the festival, took that sense of solidarity back to their classrooms and communities and workplaces, and they included teachers, customs and police officers, and other public and private sector workers. Of course, back then, in the pre-internet and pre-Wi-Fi age, when the work was done purely offline, international solidarity came through attendance of solidarity rallies, but the times also allowed the progressive movement to widen popular aspects like signature campaigns for petitions calling for the release of Nelson Mandela. Caribbean political solidarity was also loud for causes of African liberation on the continent and the Black Power movement in the USA, as well as in the diaspora in the USA, Europe, and Canada, where Caribbean nationals rallied as well to causes in their adopted homelands on the continent and also at home. The Black migrant communities in the USA and the UK and in Europe and elsewhere around the world had produced the likes of Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, and women like Claudia Jones, who was an active and vocal member of both Marcus Garvey Universal Negro Improvement Association, the UNIA, and she was also a member of the Communist Party of the United States of America before being arrested and deported to the UK, not to Trinidad, where she was originally from. She was exiled to London, where her revolutionary activism continued through publication of the West Indian Gazette, a publication promoting the causes of immigrants and blacks and people of African descent. And she also contributed significantly and perhaps made the greatest of all contributions to the organizational base that resulted in the founding of what we know today as the Notting Hill Carnival. Claudia Jones eventually died in London and had the honor of being buried with the eternal global honor of having her grave next to that of Karl Marx. American men and women of Caribbean descent who stood up to racism and to succeed in the United States also included actors, politicians, and cultural figures from Sidney Poitier to Shirley Chisholm and several others. Solidarity was therefore also expressed in automatic support by Caribbean people for big players of Caribbean descent or association in the Americas and in Europe, but also quietly and effectively expressed in joint activities by progressive forces in the USA and Canada, United Kingdom, and other parts of Europe. So there was also solidarity being expressed for Haiti and Puerto Rico against Papa Doc Duvalier and also for Puerto Rican independence, and all these were also highlighted during special international sessions organized during the congresses of major parties like the PPP in Guyana and the PNP, WLL, WPJ in Jamaica, the Oilfield Workers Trade Union in Trinidad, and others around the region. At this point, we go to the second part of my three-part presentation, and here I look at the sustained solidarity that remained with the revolution throughout its duration. And of course, I start by saying that the revolution redefined, attracted, and survived with international solidarity as all the earlier mentioned elements ensured the first genuine armed revolution in the English-speaking Caribbean got the solidarity it deserved from day one against those who opposed it at home and abroad from March 13, 1979. And here I'll offer some examples. March 13 was welcomed by progressive governments and movements worldwide. Caribbean people's response was overall positive, even though more against the Gary dictatorship, I would say, than in solidarity with how the NJM got rid of him. The UK government was willing at the time to engage with CARICOM, which was unwilling to allow Washington, London, and Ottawa to determine the shots at a time when territories like St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Kitts and Nevis, and others were not yet independent. Caribbean governments also welcomed Grenada into the legal and judicial community of the smaller island states that eventually became the OECS. And of course, we can never forget the positive Caribbean church backing the Caribbean Conference of Churches, the CCC, and its development CADEC, and especially editor Ricky Singh, who is still alive, and the Caribbean Contact newspaper that he edited so valiantly from Barbados, Trinidad, and wherever else he was allowed to, after being kicked around the region like a political football. All of these provided crucial support and, of course, links to the World Conference or the World Council of Churches. Now, the revolution attracted positive international solidarity through positive diplomatic representation and international foreign affairs representation by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Grenada, of Revolutionary Grenada, the New Jewel Movement, the National Women's Organization, National Youth Organization, etc. International overseas representation, so Grenada's ambassadors abroad ensure that the revolution's progressive outlook was maintained at international organizations, whether it be the United Nations, Organization of American States, Non-Aligned Movement, Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS, as well as within CARICOM and the OAS. I recall remembering another, or reminding another gentle old warrior just this morning in Grenada, a warrior in Grenada, that back in those days, Maurice Bishop was fond of saying over and over again that when Grenada's representatives put their hands up to vote at international fora, they don't turn back to see who else is voting because they are voting on principle. So pre-internet media support also came from and to Radio Free Grenada, RFG, the Free West Indian newspaper, and Television Free Grenada, TFG, which was supported with practical and material solidarity by progressive regional and international media entities like Prensa Latina and the Cuban Press, TASS, Pravda, and Sputnik from the Soviet Union, Xinhua in China, as well as the Covert Action Information Bulletin, CAIB, published by a collective of ex-CIA agents, including Philip A.G., who, with others, visited Grenada regularly. Other progressive international regional media outlets and reporters also offered similar support, and all of that was against the powerful negative international media onslaught of the time that came from the likes of Voice of America, the U.S. Embassy in Barbados, the U.S. Psychological Operations, the PSYOPs units, the Caribbean Publishing and Broadcasting Association Group, the CPBA, which included, among others, the Jamaica Gleaner, Barbados Advocate, Trinidad and Tobago Express, the Guardian, and other influential newspapers under the control of the directors of the CPBA. Grenada also gave constant solidarity to progressive international causes in Latin America and the Caribbean through observance of anniversaries like the defeat by Fidel Castro and the Cuban revolutionaries of the U.S. mercenaries at the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961. But generally, solidarity was expressed with progressive causes in Cuba and Puerto Rico, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Iran, as well as for liberation movements in Latin America, the FSLN from Nicaragua, the FMLN from El Salvador, also with African liberation movements, particularly the ANC, but not only the ANC. We will recall that none other than Samora Machel, the president of Mozambique, also visited Grenada during the process. The Palestinian Liberation Organization, the PLO, and Yasser Arafat also received Caribbean support, including from Grenada, as expressed loudly, which I suspect we will hear later, by none other than Maurice Bishop. Also, solidarity came from and to the non-aligned movement, and like I said earlier, the Alliance of Small Island States, the precursor to what we now know as SIDS. Grenada also served at the time as a refuge for revolutionaries. It was a veritable refuge for English-speaking revolutionaries, in particular, who previously related to non-English-speaking causes that preceded growth of the regional movement in the 1979 to 1980 era. The progressive internationalists flocked to Grenada to offer revolutionary solidarity, many assuming positions in the state machinery and bringing their skills to the process, including as permanent secretaries and heads of entities in media, education, culture, health, etc. Exiled revolutionaries and progressive political forces from several Caribbean nations and beyond also sought and got conditional political refuge in or support from Grenada. Solidarity was also expressed at highest levels of leadership of the revolution with the ANC, the African National Congress leadership. For example, many of the leaders of the ANC or members of the leadership of the ANC benefited from easier travel around the world on Grenadian passports provided by the revolution after theirs were either seized or restricted by the apartheid regime in South Africa. Presidents Thabo Mbeki and Nelson Mandela both thanked Grenada several times during and after the revolution, with similar thanks also coming from Angola for the way in which arms and soldiers were transported across the Atlantic by air from Guyana to Barbados and to Angola to save the Angolan revolution from being overthrown by mercenaries supported by South Africa. We'll also look at the 1979 Non-Aligned Summit in Havana, where Fidel, Maurice Bishop, Michael Manley, and Humberto Ortega of Nicaragua headlined the summit, promoting Grenada and Nicaragua, among other international causes. And the non-aligned movement pledged full support in and out of Cuba for Grenada's revolutionary process. Now we look at the first anniversary of the revolution in 1980, which I describe as a golden milestone for international solidarity, and I'll give a few examples. One, the first anniversary rally attended and addressed by Jamaica's Prime Minister Michael Manley, Nicaragua's Commander Humberto Campbell of the FSLN, and the firebrand and legendary Angela Davis. The USSR, China, Cuba, India, Nicaragua, and progressive governments in the non-aligned movement, the Arab world and liberation movements everywhere established diplomatic and political ties with the People's Revolutionary Government and the NJM during the first year. And the socialist nature of the revolution was spelled out, not necessarily in those words, but in ways that would have been understood by the world at the time. We also want to look at the role of the Point Salines International Airport as a battleground, because Grenada also attracted much international solidarity for construction of that international airport, especially after it was targeted by the Reagan administration, which vowed it would not be allowed to be completed. An airport to develop tourism and open Grenada to the outside world was presented as a would-be Soviet base in the Caribbean, and therefore a threat to the national security of the United States of America. That airport on that small island would eventually turn out, as we all know now, to be the battleground and grave for brave Cuban and Grenadian fighters who defied imperialism and paid the ultimate price. However, during the first year of the revolution, the following also happened. There was more CIA covert operation actions that were exposed by Philip Agee and others. Washington, under Reagan, planned to ensure Americans didn't pay too much attention to this English-speaking revolution, to ensure it didn't continue to influence Black Americans into thinking that if people looking like them can rise to defend themselves elsewhere, then why not them? The world supported Grenada's right to an airport, which hardened the U.S. determination to kill the revolution, which they had no doubt was socialist-oriented, under a revolutionary leadership committed to a different ideology, and would be unwilling to uproot, thanks to its deep levels of local, regional, and international popularity and support. We also have to, like Ruggles mentioned earlier, recall the development of grassroots democracy. Grenada drew much international solidarity for building the grassroots democracy through representative democratic councils, we call them, democratic councils, which discussed how best, for example, to implement new policies, discussed annual budgets, and decided on projects for communities and through empowerment of workers and trade unions and at workplaces. Then we come to the non-capitalist economic base that was being constructed by the revolution. And solidarity also came for Grenada, building towards a solid non-capitalist economic base through the state sector, which was involved in everything from banking to commerce, revolutionizing rural agriculture, increasing export earnings from cocoa and nutmeg, building a vibrant local fishing industry, and ensuring, for example, that with Cuban support, that also included manufacturing of local salt fish. Many of us will remember from sharks caught in Grenadian waters, replacing the original saltfish imported in boxes from New Zealand traditionally, that PRG Minister Kenrick Radix once described as salted compressed cardboard. Fishers from neighboring Windward Islands, including St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Dominica, also participated in the Cuban training and returned home with new techniques that increased and improved both their catch and made fishing a better way to earn a brighter living. There was also vital neighborly multilateral assistance, because it wasn't only the fishers and regular people and workers who benefited from free training in Grenada. As the heads of government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines under Milton Cato, St. Lucia under John Compton, and Dominica, even under Eugenia Charles, quietly or secretly dispatched their directors of finance and other top finance ministry officials to Grenada ahead of annual meetings of the World Bank and the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. Impressed by the presentation of Grenada's finance ministry, led by Finance Minister and Economic Development Minister Bernard Cord, they sought and got assistance in putting their words and figures in lines and language that opened the eyes and ears of the international financial institutions and resulted in more and better attention to their more immediate and most urgent causes. We also look at the positive regional influences the revolution had during its 4.5 years. We ought not to underestimate, for example, the positive influence it had during the revolution during and after the revolution on positive changes that were adopted by progressive and positively Labour Party-led administrations in the region, especially those that increased attention, those projects that increased attention to the likes of rural development, literacy, free medical care, free education, and support for women, youth, students, and workers, and of course, children. In St. Lucia, for example, the Dr. Kenny Anthony administration introduced programs like the short-term employment program called STEP and the National Initiative to Create Employment called NICE, STEP and NICE, that were inspired by the earlier voluntary community development exercises during the revolution in Grenada that saw Grenadians put their hearts, their hands, and their minds to the tillers to care for their communities and for each other. The house repair and other such exercises, like Ruggles mentioned earlier, you saw the state in those other states creating employment for people without qualified skills or paper certificates, therefore assisting thousands who were able to find a daily earning to bring food to the table at home, whether by keeping the roadsides clean or catering and caring for the elderly or working within the private sector or the education system. Those programs were criticized by the usual suspects in opposition, but never gotten rid of when they got into office, as they also employed the programs, that is, also employed opposition supporters who qualified for inclusion by their unemployment, which meant at any point in time in the development of the nation. Of course, there was also those everywhere who were going with the flow. And like everywhere else, the Grenada private sector during the revolution tended to monitor developments and go with the revolutionary flow, especially in a situation where the state sector was also strong and growing stronger. The state sector was expanding into some unusual areas, including establishment of a popular restaurant I often frequented near the St. George's Market Square, appropriately called the Crucial Factor. That was its name, the Crucial Factor, a state-owned restaurant in St. George's. Grenada's reputation as a government that would go to every length to ensure colonial domination of the commercial heights of the economy would remain home. That colonial domination of the heights of the economy would disappear and control of the economy would remain home was boosted at home and abroad after the announcement of the nationalization of Barclays Bank in Grenada, allegedly bought and paid for after lengthy negotiations with one EC dollar. We also had the positive vibes that came with the implementation of a new economic policy in Grenada. The emphasis of the Western press and the regional mainstream media, we will recall, was naturally on the political and military factors driving the revolution, but there was quiet determination to build a new economy, less dependent on outside and more engaged in expanding the local production base. This included giving more and added value to local products, human and natural, including more appreciation for local agricultural products through diversification. Indeed, folks, unknown to many, newly independent states in Southern Africa, led by former liberation fighters, now in government, were also paying much quiet attention to the refined economic models quietly but effectively being implemented through direct contact and even through the limited exchange compared to now that existed at the time with Frelimo in Mozambique, the MPLA in Angola, and the ZANU-PF alliance in Zimbabwe. But we must not and ever rule out the role of the written word, because one of the most significant areas of solidarity with the Grenada Revolution came through the work of writers and journalists the world over, near and far, who took time to cover the revolution in ways other than the pedestrian approaches of those more interested in discussing issues challenging the legitimacy of an armed revolution or an unelected government. Journalists and writers in neighboring progressive Latin American states also took time off to not only learn more about Grenada's revolution, but also to explain it to the Spanish-speaking populations across the Latin American continent, from Argentina to Brazil to Cuba. One such journalist is my perennial friend and colleague, Peruvian-Cuban Jorge Luna, who in 1982, some of us here will recall, published an account of the revolutionary process in Grenada after no less than 10 visits to Grenada in just over 2 years. Luna's book was and is still entitled New Jewel of the Caribbean, and I provided a copy of the English version to the organizers who may be able to display it. But the book is entitled New Jewel of the Caribbean, and it and in it, the veteran Prensa Latina correspondent, Luna, then young in the game and also posted in Guyana, he offered the Spanish-speaking world beyond the Caribbean and the continent a global account of an unlikely event in an unknown, a largely unknown part of the world.
Comrade Bousquet,
Yes,
I am honoring your request to remind
yes.
you about the time.
How much more?
5.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Thank
Luna, who is based in Cuba, spent much of his 80th birthday preparing the final draft of an English version of the New Jewel of the Caribbean, now ready for publication and circulation, but facing the usual problems that challenge poor writers in poor and developing countries who spend their lives writing instead of accumulating earned and deserving wealth. The English version of Luna's book will require material expressions of solidarity to be shared with the world where it needs to join the reams and volumes of writings published about the revolution since 1979. But we'll return to this later when I'll be making recommendations very soon for preservation and continuity of documentation of the revolution's full story within a particular time frame. But before that, we offer proposals. But before we offer proposals and recommendations, we need to look at the 4 decades plus since 1983, an exercise that means different things to different people, linking the progressive Caribbean and the global political movement. In this section, I would have looked at 1983 to present under a section called Left in the Lurch, because originally I had been asked to prepare a longer presentation than I was eventually asked to. So I may have to skip this section on the Left in the Lurch. If there's time before or time left, I could read it and make it available. And I will go into the final section, which is part 3, the revolution's legacies, linking past, present, and future. And if I go beyond 5 minutes, it will not be to 10. So here we go, and please bear with me. I often attract widening eyebrows when I say in discussions about what October 1983 represented and still does by way of the death of the revolutionary process led by the NJM and the PRG. At some points, when those sounding like only being interested in the blame game get overbearing, I offer that the revolution did not just die, but rather it was killed by the, I often offer that the revolution did not just die, but neither was it killed by the invading imperial and subsequent occupation forces. The revolution was dead before the Americans landed, with Caribbean police lacing their bootstraps. I would even argue that the invaders and occupiers buried whatever mangled pieces were left when they landed uninvited, but the revolutionary cyanide was already consumed like the poison drunk at the Jonestown massacre in Guyana the year before. eyes and ears still opened, I would therefore contend, as I still do, that the revolution committed suicide, a process that started before the arrest and detention of Maurice Bishop on October 17 and culminated in the executions at Fort Rupert. The kangaroo trials that followed also saw the unfortunate decisions within and between progressive lawyers, Caribbean lawyers, resulting in some veteran figures even challenging regional court rulings that resulted in the freeing of persons sentenced and who spent over the time allocated under the law. The blame game has continued and resulted in splitting the progressive movement and thereby diluting the solidarity movement, the progressive forces generally losing or never gaining control of the narrative in the post-1983 era. We ask whether Bishop was the face of the revolution and CORD was its two biggest hands, or if Bishop was its spiritual manifestation and CORD its intellectual author, or worse, whether it was all worth it at all. The movement has failed to take up early enough issues like solidarity with the families of those who died before, during, and after the invasion, or for the return to Grenada of the body of Maurice Bishop, for the decent Christian burial his mother prayed for without her prayers being answered. So telling the revolution story is absolutely vital and remains just as essential 46 years later. The images printed and published by those bent on killing the story are still online, but not enough is being done to counter them with the truth, especially by those best placed so to do. An entire generation, comrades, including the present Grenada Prime Minister and my first son, Samora, and so many thousands of others, were born during the revolution or grew up experiencing it in limited ways, but are still largely innocent today in 2025 about what really went down between 1979 and 1983. What is known is largely based on who's telling and who's listening, and much of what's available, while all important for history, is still largely salted, seasoned, or perfumed by where the writers and storyminders and storytellers' minds are. So there is a veritable generation unknown comprising of the 40 to 46-year-old Grenadians and sons and daughters of Caribbean people who need to know more from those still with us, but still remaining tongue-tied about unanswered questions for reasons that don't lend to preservation of history as it happened. We all need to know much more, and time is running out for those who won't ask and won't tell. For sentimental reasons, more to do with shame and pride than rising from ancient ashes and ushering new times along new paths led by new lights. So finally, lessons from 1983 are not only about, of, or from Grenada, because much of what is happening in the region since then has been riddled with repetitions and reminders that no matter where, people's struggles continue with similar trends, even though with different experiences because of the systemic nature of capitalism and the crisis it generates over time. Even with lessons from Grenada still available, there were and still are CARICOM nations willing to join in plans for military intervention in Haiti. Why? Because we still don't know enough about the world's first Black Republic created right here in our Caribbean, where the Palestinian struggle in 1979 was for recognition of the PLO and Yasser Arafat. Today, it's about the unending crises in Gaza and the West Bank, following the world's first globally televised, state-sponsored, aided and abetted homicide. Nobody supports the deaths from October 7, 2023 and the subsequent unending slaughter by Israel since then. But if the objective was to expose the plight of Palestinians to the world, that has been successful. So here we come with the fact that today the United States has no large economic interest or American citizens in Gaza or Ukraine, and Imperial President Trump is talking about establishing Gaza as a U.S. overseas territory and the U.S. eventually taking over the control of that territory. However, at the end of it all, we have to understand that the transatlantic alliance was divided over Grenada in 1979 and 1983, and it's again broken in 2025, this time over Ukraine, with NATO and European Union saying and doing things unknown to preserve a fragile union that's already broken in many parts. So, thanks to all of the examples that have been given, I hereby humbly end by offering the following suggestions, very briefly, recommendations or proposals, however you want to call or regard them, all of which I contend, I believe, and I hope are or can be capable of helping preserve the valuable legacy of the Grenada Revolution and the Caribbean's progressive movement over undocumented time. One, targeting, those are the final propositions. One, targeting the 50th anniversary of Grenada Revolution in 2029 for completion of an exercise aimed at researching, retrieving, and encouraging the storage of all available documentation on the Grenada Revolution in all forms and languages in one central universal location. Number two, collection of all speeches by Prime Minister Maurice Bishop and members of the People's Revolutionary Government between 1979 and 1983. Establishment, number three, of a national shrine dedicated to Maurice Bishop and all martyrs of the revolutionary cause. Number four, establishing a national museum of the Grenada Revolution, hosting everything available from the time and process as part of the legacy of preservation. Number five, to call on the Grenada government, on CARICOM, and the international community to demand from Washington the return of Maurice Bishop's body to Grenada. Number six, uniting existing entities in Grenada and beyond committed to working jointly to preserve the revolution's legacy. Number seven, encouraging unity in promoting national political alliances to preserve the popular integrity of the revolutionary process. Number eight, documenting and storing contents of the contributions to the Grenada Progressive Loop from its inception for education and research purposes and guidance from the past to the present and future endeavors. Number nine, establishing a 50th anniversary, establishing 50th March 13 anniversary committees regionally and internationally. And finally, number 10, promoting and participating in national and regional solidarity activities in these times in defense of Cuba and Venezuela, to increase education and understanding of the Guyana and Venezuela situation, and to protest sanctions and to oppose the efforts to criminalize the globally valuable Cuban medical program. With these 10 recommendations, and by no means commandments, and the other 5,000 plus words here just delivered, I thank you, the international jury, for your patience and attention, and through you, Madam Chair, of this civic regional court of divided and united public opinion, I rest my case.
Oh my goodness, Earl, you never disappoint, do you? Well, this was an outstanding recollection. You call it storytelling? Well, outstanding storytelling. Very informative and interesting. Thanks again. I want to just mention quickly a little tidbit that I learned recently regarding the month of March and its history with revolutions in Grenada. I was informed and reminded recently that the first revolution, Fedor's revolution, took place on March 2nd, or started on March 2nd, 1975, and went on till June 1976. Then the second, what could be considered the second revolution, Sky Red, led by Eric Matthew Gary, was started on February 19th and went up to March 19th, 1951. And of course, our glorious revolution of 1979 was on March 13th. So it seems Grenada has a special relationship with the month of March when it comes to revolutionary processes. Having said that, in fact, we were thinking that next time around, we should try to commemorate or celebrate all three, add the other two to the March 13th revolution, if possible, or invite others to do so. I now take the opportunity to introduce our second presenter, Dr. Linda Sobe, who was born in Jerusalem, Palestine. She is a career diplomat by profession with a bachelor's degree in finances, a master's degree in political science, and her PhD in economics. She's also currently the non-resident ambassador for several states: Barbados, Antigua and Bermuda, Grenada, Dominica, Commonwealth of Dominica, St. Kitts and Nevis, and St. Lucia. Also, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, and in charge of the Caribbean region affairs for her government. She has been awarded a variety, she's been an awardee of a variety of awards over her period of service, recognition to the heroic people of Palestine by the People's Congress. She has been also awarded by the Council for Gender Equality and Equity of the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, the Order of 13th April in its only class in the Capital District, Good Citizen Award, plaque of recognition and statue of Juana de Avanzadora in honor of a combative woman in the state of Monagas, in addition to several others, maybe too many to read just on this occasion. We want to specially welcome Ambassador Sobe to bring some perspectives and enlightenment to us regarding the situation in our country. Ambassador?
Good evening, all. I'm sorry I was muted. I am beyond honored and privileged to be here with you today as we gather to mark the 46th anniversary of the Grenada Revolution. On behalf of the people and the government of Palestine, I extend my heartfelt greeting to all of you. And I thank Grenada Revolution Memorial Foundation and the March 13 Committee for inviting me to participate in this important event. By the way, today is the National Cultural Day in Palestine, and also the birth date of the very important poet, and politician Mahmoud Darwish. So it marks a very special day to us. Today, as we reflect on the 46 years since the revolutionary spirit of March 13th in 1979 ignited in the heart of Grenada, we are reminded of the resilience and determination of the Grenadian people. During the transformative period in their history, the revolution brought with its new possibilities, dreams, and justice, and the hope of a better future. But as we commemorate this historical moment, we also recognize that the struggles for justice and freedom are not confined to one nation, one people, or one region. The People Revolutionary Government, PRG of Grenada, led by Mauricio Bishop, stood firm in the unwavering support for the Palestinian cause. The revolution was not only a fight for the rights of the Grenadian people, but also a call for solidarity with all the oppressed people around the world. Palestine, for example, and was a main example in the Grenadian Revolution. For the leaders of the PRG was not just a distance struggle, it was deeply connected to their own fight for dignity, for sovereignty, and for self-determination. I am honored to reflect on the deep and enduring solidarity that exists between Palestine and the people of Grenada. Mauricio Bishop and the People's Revolutionary Government of Grenada were unwavering in their support for our struggle for self-determination. Bishop often spoke passionately about the shared fight against imperialism and oppression, drawing clear parallels between the revolution in Grenada and the Palestinian cause. He understood that our struggle were not isolated, but part of a broader global movement for justice and liberation. As we commemorate the Grenada Revolutionary Day, we are reminded of how Grenada, under Bishop's leadership, stood with us in our pursuit of freedom and self-determination, offering not just words, but actions in support of Palestinian sovereignty. The legacy of solidarity continues to inspire our ongoing fight for justice, and it is a testament to the power of internationalism in the face of adversity. Earlier, I was presented or said I was the ambassador for the Palestinian Authority. And I would like to remind everyone that I am the ambassador of the state of Palestine, the one that Grenada stood with us, and all the Caribbean voted in favor of being an observer member state in the UN. And I am certain, and the people of Palestine are certain, that Grenada will stand for Palestine, with Palestine, and all the Caribbean nations will vote yes for being a full member state in the United Nations. With that said, as we gather today to discuss the Grenada Revolution and international solidarity linkage to the past and present, we must remember that solidarity is not a mere word or abstract concept. It is an active and ongoing commitment to stand with those who continue to face the harsh reality of occupation, injustice, and equality. And as we speak, my country is going through a televised genocide, a continuous televised genocide, starvation, cut of water, of electricity, siege of help and the donation that being sent to our people in Gaza. As we celebrate, and I am currently fasting the month of Ramadan, as our brothers and sisters are fasting, our Christian brothers and sisters are fasting around the world and Palestine. They fast on empty stomach and break fast on empty stomach, going through starvation imposed by Israel, the occupying power. Mass grave is being discovered on daily basis in Palestine. Children is being slaughtered. Ceasefire, but since ceasefire, hundreds is being killed in Palestine. When I say Palestine, not just Gaza. Gaza is the palm, in the palm and the heart of Palestine. Let's speak about West Bank. Let's speak about East Jerusalem. Being sieged, being occupied, land being confiscated. Even those small farmers in my little town called Der Dibwan near Ramallah. A few days ago, the settlers just entered and robbed 1,050 heads of sheep, goats from small farmers that live and survive from farming their land until it's confiscated or raising their livestock. I'm sorry, I'm going out of my speech, speaking out of heart of what we feel in these moments. The Palestinian people, like the Grenadian people, have long struggled for their right to self-determination. The echoes of our fight for freedom resonate with the ideals of the Grenadian Revolution, where the fundamental right of a people to control their destiny was never negotiable. Unfortunately, as we speak today, the situation in Palestine continues to demand international attention. The oppression, the displacement, and the violence that our people face are a stark reminder that struggle for justice is far from over. The Grenadian Revolution taught us that we are not alone in our struggles. It reminded us that the world's injustices are interconnected, from Grenada to Palestine, from South Africa to Central and Latin America. The call for justice and freedom has united people across the globe. The spirit of international solidarity must continue to guide our work in years ahead. As we engage in this discussion tonight, I hope that we can build up upon the legacy of Grenada's revolutionary government and its steadfast commitment to Palestine. We must recognize that our struggles are not isolated, but part of a larger global movement for freedom, justice, and equality. To the people of Grenada, we say, we remember your support and your unwavering stand for Palestine. Your courage in the face of adversity inspires us every day, and we remain deeply grateful for the solidarity that has transcended borders, boundaries, and time. These panels and discussion are more crucial than ever as we reflect on the historical struggles for justice and must also look at the present crisis facing the Palestinian people right now. Gaza and the West Bank are enduring unprecedented humanitarian crisis. The situation on the ground continues to deteriorate. The situation on the ground continues to deteriorate, and thousands of civilians suffering due to blockade, violence, and destruction of infrastructure. In Gaza, nearly 2 million people, yes, 2 million people are living under a suffocating blockade with limited access to clean water or none, limited health care or none, and essential goods. The ongoing airstrikes and ground operation have led to widespread destruction of homes, hospitals, schools, and essential services, leaving families displaced and vulnerable. In the West Bank, illegal settlement continues to expand, forcing Palestinian families from their land and subjecting them to daily violence and harassment. The continued restriction on movement, the construction of separation wall, and the frequent military raid further undermined any hopes for peace and stability. Recently, military raids in Jenin refugee camp and Tulkarim Ain Shams refugee camp escalated, displacing hundreds of families. These raids have led to the destruction of homes, vital infrastructure, and livelihoods, leaving residents with no safe place to return. In Jenin, especially, the refugee camp have borne the brunt of brutal military incursions, and which have led to numerous deaths and injuries, as well as widespread trauma. The people of Tulkarim face similar struggle as they continue to endure the violence and displacement caused by these military actions. Entire families have been uprooted, forced to flee their homes with little to no support or resources to rebuild their lives. The international community must not turn blind eye to the suffering of the Palestinians, especially given the scale of the devastation and the suffering that continues to unfold. The dire humanitarian condition, including shortages of food, medicine, water, combined with the destruction of vital infrastructure, have led to a situation that can no longer be ignored. It is essential that forums like this, which bring together voices of solidarity and action, continue to provide an essential space for dialogue. Through these discussions, we can raise awareness, foster international solidarity, and push for meaningful and immediate changes that will address the urgent need on the ground. As my brother said before, no one will support or applaud one drop of blood to be shed on the 7th of October or any other day. And we need to push for meaningful and immediate changes that will address the urgent needs on the ground. The voices of those affected in Gaza, Jenin, Tulkarim, and throughout Palestine must be heard, and the international community must act to hold those responsible for the violations of international law accountable. Only through a concentrated global effort can we hope to bring an end to the devastating crisis and ensure the Palestinians are granted their fundamental right to live in peace, dignity, freedom, and a sovereign state. As I join this panel with my esteemed colleagues, I look forward to engaging in a meaningful dialogue about the current situation in Palestine and how we as international partners can continue to work together to promote peace, justice, and human rights for all. In conclusion, the anniversary of the Grenada Revolution is not only a time to look back at the past, but also an opportunity to reflect on how we can continue to stand in solidarity with those who struggle for their rights, including the Palestinian people. Let us renew our commitment to international solidarity, peace, and as through our collective effort that we will achieve lasting peace and justice for all. Thank you for having me today here and for keeping this vital movement of solidarity alive. Your continued commitment to raising awareness and standing for justice is deeply appreciated. And I look forward to the ongoing conversation this evening. Long live Grenada, long live Palestine, long live the Caribbean, Latin America, South Africa, and all those who suffer and struggle all around the world. Thank you to all.
For freedom for their countries, freedom for their peoples. It is very important right at the beginning, sisters and brothers, that we acknowledge the presence of Dr. Terzi, the representative to the United Nations of the People's Liberation Organization, the PLO. Dr. Terzi can be assured, as always, that the people of Palestine and their sole authentic representatives, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, will always have the firm support of the fraternal people of the world. The South African racists who have spent so much time inventing all sorts of ingenious ways of oppressing the who have spent so much time in ensuring that those people are not able to reclaim their true patrimony. They are now discovering that in common with all of the national liberation movements around the world that are forced to move to the highest stage of the struggle, that the African National Congress is also willing to make that step.
So thank you very much for the clip. And special, very special thanks to you, Dr. Sorbet, for your message and all of the representation that you do of your people. And know, as the comrade leader said then, that the people of Grenada stand with you. I now move to our final presenter, a Grenadian patriot, Comrade Bernard Bourne. We are delighted to have him available to do the third presentation before we get into the interactive session. Bernard Bourne is a Grenadian patriot, an advocate for social justice, and a former Grenadian diplomat. He's an experienced political party organizer, strategic thinker, and educator. His leadership and organizational skills were developed while serving as a young progressive national leader and as a member of the New Jewel Movement political party. Being a former high school teacher and an NGM youth leader, he cultivated the capacity to recognize, develop, and mentor young talent. And he's an electrical engineer, graduate of Lakehead University in Canada, born migrated to the United States to take care of his ailing mother. He lives in New York with his wife and 2 daughters. Comrade Bourne?
Thank you, Sister Val. Are you hearing me? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, yes, sisters and brothers, special greetings to the organizers of this very important solidarity event and commemoration of the 46th anniversary of the Grenada Revolution. Special thanks to the 2 speakers before me. Awesome job, and I'm looking forward to the interactive session in a moment. On this day, 46 years ago, at Kensington Oval in Barbados, where West Indies cricket team was playing in a Kerry Packer World Series test match, spectators stormed the field and held up the game for over an hour to celebrate the overthrow of the Gary regime and to show solidarity with the Grenadian sisters and brothers. I just thought I should open up this, my little piece, to show that solidarity with the Grenada Revolution started the very moment of the revolution itself, when our Caribbean patriots heard about the overthrow in Grenada. The leadership of the March 13, 1979 Grenada Revolution believed, supported, and practiced internationalist solidarity. The PRG believed in the decolonization of states and self-determination of their peoples, supported the national liberation struggles of oppressed peoples, deservedly fighting for freedom and justice for their people. More specifically, PRG believe in the national liberation struggles of our sisters and brothers in Southern Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Angola, Namibia, and South Africa fighting the inhumane apartheid regime. And where possible, the PRG rendered modest internationalist material and moral support to Sam Nujoma's SWAPO in Namibia and the ANC of Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, and other ANC leaders. Our keynote speaker already mentioned some of the things that we did to ensure the ANC liberation fighters outside of South Africa were able to continue their work, highlighting the oppression and the fight for freedom in South Africa. Indeed, long before the Grenada Revolution, the NGM celebrated African Liberation Day, which is May the 25th, since 1973, the year of the formation of NGM, with annual solidarity rallies on Sundays that were closest to African Liberation Day. While in the United States, on official invitation by Trans-Africa, on June 5th, 1983, at Hunter College in New York, Prime Minister Bishop, in a speech for the ages, you just saw a clip of it right there, brought revolutionary greetings and expressed the revolution's solidarity with the PLO and ANC, both representatives at that historical rally in Manhattan on June 5th, 1983. Nearer in the Americas, the revolution was in solidarity with Omar Torrijos' administration in Panama, the Sandinistas of Nicaragua, the freedom fighters of El Salvador in Central America, the Cuban Revolution, of course, and the Cuban people's right to a government of their choice. The revolution opposed foreign interference in the internal affairs of sovereign independent states by bigger states. Furthermore, the PRG sent Grenadians to the east coast of Nicaragua during the early days of the Grenada Revolution to teach in the Nicaraguan literacy program, similar to what we had in Grenada, the CPE. Moreover, the Grenada leadership proclaimed that the Caribbean Sea must be a zone of peace. Caribbean masses rallied and supported the Grenada Revolution. Some skilled workers like Comrade Olbuske himself, our keynote speaker today, and last year's keynote speaker, the Director General of the OECS, came to Grenada to work and to contribute to the revolution's development and the consolidation of the Grenada Revolution. And my final comment is, before we get going with the official dialogue, at the 6th summit of the non-aligned movement in 1979 in Havana, Grenada was elected to the coordinating bureau of the non-aligned movement. Thereafter, Fidel Castro, the commander-in-chief of the Cuban Revolution, described Grenada as a big revolution in a small country. And my final and last comment is that the Grenada Revolution not only saw solidarity between states and leadership of the states, but Grenada itself, we had a distinguished honor of having a youth representative for the Caribbean and Central America stationed at the World Federation of Democratic Youth in headquarters in Budapest, Hungary, for a 5-year term from 1982 to 1987. I'm saying all that to say that the World Federation of Democratic Youth is in a sense comparable for youth, like the United Nations. So we had the Caribbean rep, we had a Grenadian representing the Caribbean and Central American youth and students. That was an awesome, distinguished honor for us. So I want to just end here because I know we have time to discuss the future, well, the present and the future of solidarity with Grenada, solidarity with people fighting for their liberation across the globe, because as long as Comrade Bishop used to say, as long as you have one person still oppressed anywhere in the world, we, as especially people who came from colonial, were colonized, we have to continue to fight, because when one person is trampled, we all feel it. We have to keep fighting and helping others to fight so that we can liberate all oppressed peoples across the globe. So again, thanks to the organizers. Thank you to the moderator. Thank you to all my esteemed panelists, Brother Earl Buske and Dr. Linda Sobe, and to the audience for your attention. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers.
Thank you so much, Brother Bourne, for filling in those important bits of information, but also for giving up a little bit of your time in the interest of us having some more interaction and feedback from the audience. I will start that with the first comment that I see in the chat, where Lincoln said, on March 13, 1951, some Gary supporters were killed by police as they protested in the Latin St. David's area. There's a small monument at the location of the incident with the names of John Duncan, Snell Fraser, and Agatha Fraser Sharp. So interestingly, on March 13th as well, in that revolution, we had that incident, and there's still a monument to that, in honor of that. I'd like to invite you to make your comments, give your feedback, questions, or whatever in the chat as much as possible, because it's so much easier for us to be able to pick up on them, and it saves time. Please try to limit your contributions to 2 to 3 minutes so that we can have as many as possible, considering the time now. Somebody added that John Duncan was a police officer. Thanks for filling in the information. So you can also raise your hand using the Zoom facility of raising hands. We will be monitoring the order in which hands are raised. So you can either raise your hand to comment or on the Zoom facility, or add your contribution in the chat. In the meantime, if either Ruggles or Headache is able to see any feedback or comments on the platforms where this is being aired or streamed, please let me know so that we can also add them to the conversation.
Sister Moderator, allow me to make one slight amendment to a comment presented by Brother Buske. It's a very small comment. He mentioned that we purchased a bank, and I think he said it was Barclays Bank for $1 during the revolution. I just want to correct that. Brother Buske, we actually purchased 2 banks for $1 each. The first one was the Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, and the second one was the Royal Bank of Canada. So it was 2 Canadian banks, not Barclays Bank. Just a brief update on that. All right, thanks.
Thank you for that correction, Bernard. Anybody else can? Sorry, thank you for that correction. Anybody else?
The ambassador's hand is up.
Yes?
I just wanted to say that while doctors in my country cannot go and help in Gaza, where the occupation does not allow us to enter to the destroyed hospitals or to help the wounded or amputated, we decided last year to start our mission that we've been doing in the Caribbean as a thank you note to all the Caribbean countries that stood with and by Palestine. Our mission has been in Grenada twice. And as a thank you note, we come to say to Grenadians and to the government of Grenada that Palestine will never forget all your help, will never forget all your support, and standing within you're going through your struggle, you still had the time, the energy, and the determination to be standing next to the Palestinian people. We will continue to come, and I take this forum and this platform to invite all Grenadians that need any attention or cornea transplants or knee or hip or many other specialties. We will be coming soon to Grenada. Again, thank you to the revolution. Thank you to the revolution that stood by the resistance of Palestine, where we could not move around, where Grenada facilitated for us, stood by us. Once again, we are very thankful as people and as government of Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. That gesture, that support is going to be very much appreciated, because I recently learned that we have a shortage of ophthalmologists in Grenada.
We're coming back.
You're right. That will be so useful, because we have a mission coming soon in April, and I learned that they already have booked over 200 surgeries by the Ministry of Health for a 2-week period by a mission organized by Grenadians in Florida. So that will be really helpful. In fact, we have some people who are suffering with loss of sight due to diabetes, etc., etc. So
glaucoma and all that.
Yes, so it couldn't be even more timely. Anybody else wants to comment or ask a question?
Well, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. I didn't know who it was trying to speak.
Sorry, Val. I was just saying that that I'm not on the other. We have about 3 other platforms running. So if there is anybody who is monitoring the other platforms, Dovell, you can WhatsApp us with the question so I can pass it on. Sorry about that, but I'm not on the other platforms. We have about 3 or 4 other platforms carrying it live.
Thank you, Ruggs, for that. I saw another comment by thank you saying from Sonia Nixon. Thank you, Commodore, for this nostalgic journey through the revolution and putting light on the way beyond. Thank you very much, Sonia.
Madam Moderator, this is Bernard once more. Maybe I want to kick off the interactive discussion with something that is facing the Caribbean that is crucial right now. As we all know, in recent months, in fact, within the last week or two, the United States has issued a statement regarding countries in the Caribbean, and I suppose globally, but I want to stick to the Caribbean for the moment. Caribbean countries that continue to receive solidarity from the Cuban medical teams who are in their countries, including Grenada, to help with our medical situation. And there is a threat to deny visas to citizens of those countries that continue to host these Cuban workers. I understand today that the Secretary of State of the United States, Marco Rubio, is heading to the Caribbean sometime later this month to meet with foreign ministers. I don't know, I don't think they have disclosed which country yet they are going to be hosting this meeting to discuss this matter, and I suppose other matters that will be relevant to Caribbean-US relationship. Now, it is pleasing to to note that a few of the Caribbean prime ministers so far, Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Royley, Dr. Gonzalez in St. Vincent and Grenadines, Prime Minister Skerritt in Dominica, and our own Prime Minister have spoken eloquently and very firmly about our countries, our Caribbean countries, having the right to determine their relationship with other Caribbean countries, including Cuba. Cuba is a Caribbean country, and also to pay attention to the needs of Caribbean citizens who require quality medical care and attention from our Caribbean brothers and sisters in cases where the host Caribbean countries themselves do not have the acquired skills and resources to take care of their own people's medical situation. So this is going to pose a significant concern to Caribbean peoples. And I hope that the Caribbean countries, CARICOM and the OECS, continue to stay united on this matter regarding the relationship with our Cuban counterparts and ourselves, because we cannot fight this battle with the North American giant single-handedly. It will be useless if each country want to go their own separate ways to begin to address this problem. Unity and solidarity of CARICOM nations, OECS nations on this matter will be crucial in order for the Caribbean to stay firm on their and in a sense to encourage the United States to respect the Caribbean countries' right to self-determination, and also to respect the fact that other states should not interfere in the internal affairs of CARICOM states, because we are sovereign and we are independent. It's going to be an important struggle that we have to look forward to, and I hope the Caribbean countries and the Caribbean people demand that the governments stay united in this fight in the very near future. So I just like to add that comment at this point.
Seeing a hand up. Anybody seeing a hand up? Anybody else with any comments?
Yeah, my hand is up.
Joseph Antoine's hand is up.
Sorry, said Joseph Antoine, yes?
Yes.
2 to 3 minutes.
I wouldn't stay so long. I was going to point out the issue of, and I raised it this morning on the radio, the medical situation where our health system could collapse if the US have their way. I'm not satisfied, though, that the countries of the Caribbean, including the populations, are vehement enough in opposing this kind of hegemonic infliction. And I think so. Maybe what's needed right now is for governments to rally our people to say in one voice, no, once and for all. It's in the same way as the leaders in the Sahel have rallied their people in defying imperialism. And it's regrettable that the Caribbean islands, including Myanmar and all of them that people think are so progressive, have not shown any solidarity with the Sahel, the leaders of the Sahel, because they're facing the similar situation that Grenada faced. So that's all I will say for now. Maybe later on I'll say something.
Thank you very much.
Well, yes. Maybe there is a pointed message that was circulating today that probably is good to share with the audience today. Is an extract from a speech of Prime Minister Maurice Bishop over Radio Free Grenada on April 13, 1979, entitled "In Nobody's Backyard." And it was circulated on many platforms earlier today. and probably permit me to share a part of that extract. And I quote, at the end of our discussion on Tuesday, that's a discussion with the then U.S. ambassador, the U.S. ambassador handed me a typed statement of his instructions from his government to be given to us. A relevant section of that statement reads, and I quote, and this is the quotation from the statement from the U.S. ambassador then, quote, "We would view with displeasure any tendency on the part of Grenada to develop closer ties with Cuba," that unquote. And this is Prime Minister Bishop speaking now. He says, "It is well established internationally that all independent countries have a full, free, and unhampered right to conduct their own internal affairs. We do not therefore recognize any right of the United States of America to instruct us on who we may develop relations with and who we may not. Grenada is a sovereign and independent country, although a tiny speck on the world map, and we expect all countries to strictly respect our independence just as we respect theirs. No country has the right to tell us what to do or how to run our country or to who we should be friendly with. We certainly would not attempt to tell any other country what to do. We are not in anybody's backyard, and we are definitely not for sale. Anyone who thinks they can bully or threaten us clearly has no understanding, idea, or clue as to what material we are made of. They clearly have no idea of the tremendous struggles which our people have fought over the past 7 years. Though small and poor, we are proud and determined. We would sooner give up our lives before we compromise, sell out, or betray our sovereignty, our independence, our integrity, our manhood, and the right of our people to national self-determination and social progress." Unquote. Given the theme of this evening's session, I just thought it important. This was sent probably about 10 times today. Others may have seen it, but I just thought it was important to share. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruggles. I'll read one comment that was posted in the chat, and then we could take the dedication to the fallen soldiers, because we will keep the line open after this formal part to, a much more informal social among us, online social or virtual social, if we could call it that. So I read the other comment that I see here by 11 Coco. I was sure to hear the proposals put forward by Dr. Bousquet in commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Grenada Revolution. We have spoken about several aspects of his proposal over the years, but I think that this is a great time to work towards achieving them. I would like to become involved in documenting revolutionary history. Thank you so much, and we'll have to keep note of this. GEMFM, please. There's another quick comment. Good evening, comrades. I am very happy to be part of this gathering. My early upbringing was during that period, which brought a heightened level of thinking among my age group. Thanks again for the invitation. Hope the recording will be made available on social media. Thank you very much. It doesn't have a name, but we appreciate it. So maybe Ruggles and Headache, is this a good time for us to start doing the dedication to the fallen soldiers, remembrance?
Yes, yes.
And then we can keep the line open for whoever is interested and just have a very informal chat. We should have been having a lime and oil down and whatever afterwards. That's not on at the moment. Maybe sometime in the future we could do that. So Mr. Technical Support, can you please now start the dedication to fallen heroes?
Hey, Val, there are some hands up.
1 second, I'm seeing one thing similar to what Canadians are now telling Donald Trump with his repeated remarks of annexing Canada. The response from Canadians are elbows up, meaning fight back. Canada is not for sale. Somebody
As
mentioned
same
that there are a
as,
couple more hands up.
Yes,
So we'll
Val,
take a
there are
couple.
hands up.
I have a hand, Lisa James.
Thank you, Lisa. So how many hands do we have? 2, 3? So Lisa James, please
Thank you.
make your comment or
Yes, I'll be
contribution.
very brief. I am Lisa James. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, and I consider Grenada to be my second home. I have a long-standing relationship. And really, I want to commend this foundation for really a very informative and stimulating presentation here this evening. But there's something that Mr. Bourne had said when he started his presentation, and he reminded us of the day 46 years ago with the Kerry Packer cricket match in Barbados and the overwhelming show of solidarity that he saw on that cricket pitch. And I have my own very exciting recollection as well of that day as a student, a final year student of the University of the West Indies in St. Augustine. And really as a supporter of the struggle, as we called it then, and our interest in the revolution. But on that day, I really remember our own celebration, our own solidarity carnival, as I'd like to call it, on the campus, which we led in support of the revolution. So it will always and forever be etched in my memory. And my solidarity would always be with the people of Grenada in all of its efforts towards this. So I'm really thrilled to be here today. And I thank my colleague, Gallo, for inviting me to this evening. Thank you so much, and keep up the good work, folks.
Thank you, Lisa. I think Gallo's hand is up, so we'll take his as the last comment before we start doing the remembrance.
Thanks, Val, and thanks the whole committee and all the speakers that have shed some light into the history of our struggles. And I definitely would want to make that comment as a student of geology, and our main sentence or guidance principle is the past, is the present, to the future. And as Marley would say, if you don't know your past, you never would know your future. So piggybanking on the nostalgic journey of this diverse amount of solidarity that Grenada showed and others have shown to Grenada in our period where we thought we would triumphantly be moving forward into this generation of the 50 years down the road after Grenada independence and 46 years after the revolution. And with that diverse amount of solidarity that was extended to Grenada, where we were on the right trajectory, I'm wondering, being outside here as one of the first Grenadian students to come to this part of the world in the Eastern Bloc and still outside here, was the solidarity and the organizations that were giving us that amount of push in all directions positively, did they sit back at the time of what we using that type of non-interference into internal affairs of our countries, etc., and our organization, that there was no internet at that point in time? Could it be that there wasn't that amount of influences that could have been exerted onto our organizations in Grenada that could have avoided our demise? This is a question that still remains with me, and I would like if Earl could maybe shed some light into just making a few comments on that. But I appreciate the statement and the recommendations that you have said, Earl, so that we should go forward and keep the positive memories of the revolution and the positive trajectories that we have had, that we recognize as today. The question that, or the statement made by Comrade Bone about the present moment, we recognize, and the statement that the Comrade Morris Bishop have made, that we in nobody's backyard, and better we stand on our feet than to crawl and stagger on our knees. And this is what is expected of us in the Caribbean and further on. And through the solidarity with the PLO, I had the privilege to have been with PLO brethren here side here, and we did build a strong brotherhood of all the struggling countries around the world. And I would say the struggle, la luta continua, as Samuel Marshall would say. The struggle is always omnipresent, and we shouldn't wait 1 minute in every respect in our sectors where we are. Let's do our best, consolidate, and build that progressive force to make the people of our region, the Caribbean region, what they're supposed to deserve at this point in time. After all the struggles that we have gone through, we got to stand firm. We got to stand united. In the African world, they say Ubuntu, oneness, togetherness. Thanks, brethren and sisters. Let's continue the struggle.
Thank you very much, Brother Nurse. Earl, did you want to make a quick comment on that before we go on to the remembrance?
Well, I didn't get which specific point you wanted me to comment on.
No, well, I think he asked a question. He invited you. I didn't quite get it, but he invited you to respond to a question. But it's okay.
Can you repeat it quickly, or we'll do it after?
You could do it after. Let's try and get the remembrance done. Yeah, we could do it after.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Technical Support. We ready for you?
Whoa, this is for my soldiers, real soldiers. Yeah, this is for my fallen soldiers. We miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the battlefield. Life is so real. This is for my fallen soldiers. We miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the battlefield. Life is so real. Yeah. As a little youth used to hang up on the corner. Me and the one of my friend and we a bunch of marijuana. All doing up and we never grew up with no father. Still we have to try to best to make it cross the border. But some boy show them big like Hulk Hogan. Come and chat, tell them we don't miss the slogan. We prepare them before we take program. We not grow wrong, no, we not grow wrong. Fallen soldiers, we miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the battlefield. Life is so real. This is for my fallen soldiers. We miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the battlefield. Life is so real. Yeah, enough of them not like we. Them know them wrong and still I take it fight we. Kill off a friend and think me take it lightly. And the whole of no boy me a free. Hey, when I want a more funeral, no more burial. Stop behaving like wild animals. Get more spiritual, get more biblical. I gotta take a wash off over the mineral. You save your soul, you save yourself. Why you rest in peace? So tell Jah we need some help. Put it is for my fallen soldiers. We miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the battlefield. Life is so real. This is for my fallen soldiers. We miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the battlefield. Life is so real. Yeah. Whoa, this is for my soldiers. Real soldiers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa, this is for my soldiers. Real soldiers. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Whoa. This is for my soldiers. Real soldiers. Yeah. This is for my fallen soldiers. We miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the battlefield. Life is so real. This is for my fallen soldiers. We miss you. I know you got we with you. Got on the
Thank you very much to Dovel. We have it seems one more comment here from Leon. Thanks to the three comrades for such inspiring, informative, and outstanding presentations. Well received and appreciated. Thanks to the organizers for keeping the spirit of the revolution alive. And so we come to the end of the formal part of this. And every time we've done this type of event, it seems like the whole interaction, the spirit, the energy comes even more alive when the formal part ends. So at this point, we bring the curtains down on the formal part of this evening's lecture. And this is the time.
Sorry, Val. Remember the vote of thanks.
Oh my apologies. Sorry.
Yes, remember the vote of thanks. Yes.
My bad. We have to do our vote of thanks. I think it's Dr. Malachi Dottin who is doing the vote of thanks.
Yes.
Malachi, my apologies. Sorry.
Thank you, Sister Chair. Esteemed audience, happy am I to extend warm embrace and fraternal greetings to everyone this evening. It is with a sense of amazing joy and deep humility that I embrace the responsibility to have been asked to deliver the closing remarks at this historic but commemorative occasion, as we have and will continue to discuss the overall significance of the Grenada Revolution, one of the most significant historic episodes in the Caribbean in the 20th century. Additionally, I wish to express my profound appreciation to the organizing institution, the Grenada Revolution Celebration Committee, led by QC Rogers Ferguson, for organizing today's event. It has been a pleasure, welcoming experience to be able to participate in this shared accomplishment so far. We have come to the close of this enlightening session on the Grenada Revolution and international solidarity. I would like to take this opportunity to express our heartfelt gratitude to all the esteemed speakers and panelists for sharing this insightful experience and knowledge of such an important and significant subject. Esteemed colleagues, your thoughtful presentation and engaging discussion have provided us with a deeper understanding of the Grenada Revolution, its impact, and the importance of the international solidarity in shaping global history. Quite encouraging, quite engaging. Thank you, Comrade Earl. Thank you, Dr. Lindley. We would also like to thank everyone who attended today's event and activity participating in the discussion. Your engagement and thoughtful questions have truly enriched our conversation, and it is through such interaction that we can continue to learn from each other and build a stronger, vibrant, but importantly more informed community. A special thanks to the organizers and volunteers who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to ensure everything runs smoothly. Without your hard delegation, this event would not have been possible. Especially from our intervention from Comrade Bond and the unwavering support from the technical operator behind the scene, Comrade John Callis, this event would not have been so far-reaching and fulfilling. Much appreciation to all of you who have participated in this activity as we continue with the exciting attempt to create a new society based on equality, social justice, and solidarity as one people with one journey and one future. Thank you all again for participating. We look forward to a future opportunity to continue learning and collaboration. Have a wonderful night ahead. Long live the people of Free Grenada. Long live the Palestinian movement. Long live our political leaders of the revolution. Long live Maurice Bishop. Forever, back whenever. I thank you.
How could we have ended the formal session without this rich contribution, Dr. Dottin? Thank you so much. And I guess now we are able to bring the curtains down on the formal part and relax, let your hair down, and let the conversation and interactions roll. I don't have to chair or anything like that. We could just open the floor. Anybody who wants to contribute, headache, ruggles, anybody, it's open now.
Yeah, I think Siddiqui wanted to make a point, and I believe Joseph Antoine too. I'm not too sure if his hand is up from the last intervention, but Siddiqui's hand was up. So
No, my hand is new. It's new.
oh, it's a new hand. Let me just confirm with John. John, it's off air now. As the live, have you turned off the live? Yeah, I'm not hearing you.
Yeah, because we don't want this segment to be carried
we just
live.
want to make sure that it's
this segment
off
should not
air.
be carried live.
Just make a call. Yes.
Okay.
Just
okay.
1 second.
Okay. Let me turn it down then. All right. Beautiful. It's off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Antoine.
Okay. Hold on. Let me make an announcement here. All right. Hold on a second.
The recording is still on, colleagues.
Yeah. I cut it off too.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me cut this off. Oh. Dovel, you have control. Can you just stop the recording, please, on your end? Dovel, you have control. Can you just stop? Okay.
Right. And I mean, we could still observe the time limit so that everybody